All right. Hello, everybody. I know this is kind of abrupt. Normally, we have like a nice lead in. I do a little bit of an intro, but since we're a little pressed for time and we have a game on at 7 o'clock, I figured we'd all come on one time. So, hey, we're all here.
So, world.
Um, yes. So, as you guys know, you're watching All Nicked Up. Today is December 11th. Can't believe it's December 11th already. Another year almost in the tubes. Crazy. I know. And yes, tonight, as you see on the scroll, the Knicks are in the NBA Cup quarterfinals, where they will be playing the Atlanta Hawks, and a familiar face or a familiar hated face coming back, um, in Trey Young, from Atlanta. Um,
John's favorite player, John Cicerani. Shout out,
yes.
John.
Yeah. So really quickly, I've seen this discussion go on today because Young's coming back, and this is, no matter how we feel about it, there
Mm-hmm.
is a heightened importance to this game because there is something to play for, right? This is a tournament. They're in a tournament. They're playing for something. So the question is being bandied about, and I read about it on social media. People are like, is Trey Young still considered a villain at Madison Square Garden? So I'm just going to leave it there. What do you guys think? What would you guys say about Trey Young's status as a villain at Madison Square Garden? Either one of you.
I'll go. To me, I don't know if he's so much as a villain. I think, well, he has one huge win, I guess, so to say, in the Garden. Was this during the lockout season? Well, the half season. Well, the COVID season. It's the COVID season. Am I correct?
Yes.
We were halfway in, then we brought back fans. It was a lot of fervor with the Knicks, obviously, getting to some, in the playoffs for once, for the once, in the shot in the moon, so to say. Um, I don't know. I mean, didn't the Knicks fans like kind of spit on him at one point? Wasn't he a little bit provoked to be a little bit angry at the New York Knicks fans? Being as Knick as we can be. Usually, we are obnoxious. We're New Yorkers. That's what it is. We wear it on our sleeves. We have no problem telling people we can be a little bit brutal and brash.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's like New Yorkers like, oh no, we didn't spit on Trey. Yeah, all right. I mean, we definitely give our own players the business. Just keep it a buck. We're a relentless fan base. Not all of us. Some of us are civil. Don't get me wrong. I think for the most part, in all honesty, all jokes aside, most New York Knicks fans are civil fans. They love the basketball aspect of it. Even when you're an opponent coming in, we marveled at other players coming and dancing on our floor and have that quiet respect for them. We had the ooze even when it wasn't our player. When we see another player, dazzle and amaze, we know Michael Jordan, you know, hated one way but beloved in another way. We do love the aspect of having those great athletes come into our place and give us something to boo about. But in the same way, we respect them. Now,
Yeah.
will we say that about Reggie Miller? I think no. We know what Josh Hart said to him, during the playoffs. I think they're saying something to you. ABCDFG, Reggie Miller. That's really what it got down to. He still is one of the most hated players, no matter what age group that it seems. They remember him being the villain guy, and its antics with Spike. Although they lost that series, which is really funny, but they still remember him for coming in the Garden and doing, the choke symbol. Now, was he probably provoked to do the choke? Little cricket Spike Lee was chirping at him, literally chirping at him, and that provoked him also. So when we talk about villains, I think you have to have some sort of continued rivalry.
Yeah.
And I think we were expecting the Hawks to be a mainstay in the playoffs and be an agonizing thorn in our arse. But they fell off. They really did not come back the next year. It seemed almost like a fluke for the most part. So I don't know. I mean, how can you have a villain? You have to have a plot first. And I don't think the Knicks have had enough plots with the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, it's literally MSG South when you go into Atlanta. It's not like it's a
fair point.
Oh God, we're going in a hostile environment. It's like more New Yorkers in Atlanta than there are Atlanteans, so to say. No, I mean, he plays up to the crowd. I think he wants. I think he really embraces wanting to be the villain and show up people. You know, he's one of those. He's a showman. You know, I think that's the thing about him. But I think you got to break our hearts in New York.
Yeah,
you're an absolute villain, and I don't think he really did that. The Knicks just really fell up. They weren't ready for the playoffs. I mean, I don't think it was a back and forth. I just think the Hawks came in riding a nice wave, and you know they came into a team that was inexperienced. Obviously, Julius had no playoff experience. RJ had no playoff experience. Derrick Rose was the only one with playoff experience, I think, at that point. I don't know. I think people don't like how he looks. I think that's really what bothers people.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair statement to make. That's probably a very fair statement to make about Young at this point. Joe, what do you think about what do you think it would take? I'll just ask this question. What do you think it would take for you to get interested in this match, this NBA Cup quarterfinals matchup? I know obviously you're interested because you're a Knicks fan and it's just another game that counts, but for the heightened importance of it, because we kind of touched on this last week, but it was kind of more of a broad statement. So is there anything that could happen in this specific game that we'd be like, all right, yeah, now I'm really invested?
I think the game has to be close. I think I want to see a playoff atmosphere. I think that'll get me into the game. You know, Ty, as usual, you know, covered the whole Trae Young thing very, very well, and I agree 100% with what he said. He's frankly not good enough to be a Knick villain, but it doesn't mean we don't hate his ass. I mean, seriously, hate his ass. So, I mean, he'll have to step up because you have to have greatness in you to be a true Knick villain. And you have to have a little New York in you, I think, to be a New York, you know, a New York villain. You have to have that kind of big stage, you know, capabilities that, you know, the Tyrese Halliburtons and some of the other players in the world will never have. You know, I'd like to see him get up for that game because, you know, he's not manifesting the greatness that he once showed potential for. I think I need it to be a close game, and I think this really need to see the Garden rocking. I want to see a playoff atmosphere, and I don't want to crush them. I want to break their heart. I want him to hit a three to bring them up by one, and then us to go down with 4 seconds left and break his heart and win that way.
Yes.
You know, to take the shine off of him, for him to think that he hit this ridiculous game winner, for us just zip down the court and win the game. So, yeah, he's not a Knick villain, but, you know, he's not getting any Christmas cards from me anytime soon. Don't care for the man. Got a lot to talk about for somebody that has improved a lot in the league. So those are the things that would get me more invested in this particular game. As far as the Cup, I'm always very conscious of how we appear to the rest of the league because of the laughingstock we've been for so long. I think winning anything is good for the team and for its image. Yeah. And for NBA teams, the image of the team is more important than any other sport, I think. Especially when you're trying to recruit singular players and bring them over, the perception of the team is more important than baseball. It's more important than football. So anything we can do to help that is important to me.
Yeah, I do think Young, because of his antics and how he plays things up, I do think he's, I won't say a villain, but I will say he's definitely an agitator. Like he's definitely someone who could get under the skin of Knicks fans because, like I said, I was watching the conversation today on social media, and it was kind of interesting that some people are like, "Yeah, I hate him. He's a villain." And other people are like, "Well, that was a few years ago. The team's different now. Like a lot of things have changed." So it was an interesting discussion. So I just wanted to see where you guys stood on it. NBA Cup, whatever. It's like we talked about last week. It's there. I know it's what it is. But I kind of think this team winning something, and I think it's this last week, them winning something, even if it's this, will go good, not just for how the league perceives us, but for what they think they can accomplish. And I think that's the important thing going forward. So we did get some news about a Knick who's been on who's been injured for a lot of his career. Mitch Robinson, we got a little news today that I think a lot of us thought he might be coming back the end of this month, but now it looks more like the end of January. We'll see Robinson back. So this kind of brings up the conversation we were having in the chat today, because we were talking about the usage kind of one Ariel Hukporti and Precious Achua and the big men, and how they are being utilized by this coach. Or maybe underutilized is a better term. Because Jericho Sims was starting. He had a bad 6 minutes and he didn't even play the last game. So I have no idea what's going on here. But there's also been talk about trades and the trading. And one guy who came up, who we've talked about in the past, was Nick Richards. So my question is this. If Charlotte called tomorrow and said, yeah, we want, we'll do a Richards for Robinson deal, just 1-to-1, take the salary cap out of it, would you guys do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he doesn't have the injury history that Mitch does.
Well, he's kind of beat up. He's been kind of banged up himself in his career.
For the duration?
He's younger, though. He is. I think he is a little younger. So that, from that perspective, but why? Why would you do it outside of that part of it? Do you think what he brings is better than what Mitch brings? What's your rationale behind the saying yes?
Not necessarily. No, I think they're similar players. I just look at Mitch and I think, what do we have him for 2 more years? I think his injury situation is going to get worse and worse and worse. Personally, I don't trust the man's body. I trust the player. I trust what he brings to the table. And like we were talking about last session, I remember what he did in that Cleveland series and how pivotal and how important he was. And I'm not a get Mitch out of town guy, but I just think he's busted in a way. And I'd rather roll my dice with something that maybe isn't quite up to what I believe Mitch to be, but I think can replicate a lot of those things, because I think that player is missing from our lineup, that type of player. I think that it rounds out the team better. I think it gives us different looks. I think it's very valuable. Even though we have a different kind of center right now, and don't get me wrong, I love that he's playing center. I would never change that. There is something that's missing there. And I think that Robinson, if he's healthy, can bring that back. Or if we traded for Richards, he could provide that too.
Yeah, I was kind of going to go there next, because I wanted to bring up, you kind of led me there, Joe. I wasn't, we didn't plan this, but it was a very good segue that you, that you brought up, kind of brought up Towns, saying that you're happy, like, he's playing center now and how good he's been there. So, Ty, from your perspective, who's a better pairing? Is Mitch a better pairing, or is Nick Richards a better pairing?
Probably I'm going to say Nick Richards. The only reason being is that when I look at Mitch, I mean, I hate talking bad about Mitch, because it's so many good things to talk about with Mitch. We know we can go back to, blood in the ground. He was drafted here. He was basically a bargain where we got him. The whole storyline. He's basically the thing that most Knicks fans always wanted, was a developed player from a draft, and we kept him and re-signed him to a rookie extension. He was the first rookie. He just wasn't the first round, I think, if I'm not, since Charlie Ward.
Right.
We got the whole piano, and everything going about him. However, the knock on him is what we're talking about now. He's not available. And the Knicks are in a window of what we're going to have to buy as a championship window. What are the Knicks missing? Some length in the front court, some athleticism in the front court. Somebody looking to put the ball back into the hoop instead of passing it out like Sims does all the time. It's like the basket's right there, Sims. Sims like, no. I'm getting down candy. I'm going to go call my mom up. I'm not damn sure trying to score. I just know Nick Richardson has been in games, and I'm more than sure he's looked at the rim and he wanted to score. And that's what we're missing is a guy who can just put back some damn shots off of rebounds, and give us a presence on the glass. I mean, is that something Mitch can provide? Yeah, I think most people are looking at him from the aspect of the defense. I'm looking definitely at the rebounding. I think that's very important.
Yeah, definitely.
But I just want someone other than Karl Anthony Towns that's above 6'9", 6'10", that wants to rebound and put the damn ball back up. Because what you're watching is a lot of time Josh Hart gets caught by the power forward or whatever, the center, and they're just reaching over him and taking the board back. And that's something that we need to have. I know Precious is a guy who I like, who kind of provides that, but we do need a little bit more height. Is Mitch that guy? I think rebounding-wise, yes. But I want someone who's a threat. I watched Hartenstein last night, and then just drool, the whole drool cup. You're watching him, and it's like, why could he stay to Nick? These dumb rules about not being able to extend, to offer you a guy that you develop more money might bite us in the arse, because what he brought to the table was everything we need now. So when we look at Mitch, I go, no, Hartenstein is what we need now. Being type more than a Mitch type. Because Mitch has the lure of being the shot blocker, Tom's dude, we're like, oh, when Mitch gets right, I said it last week, being hellified sarcastic about it. I said, we the only team that needs that one guy, that one role player, oh, God, we're not going to make it. Whereas I would love for him to actually be able to bring a guy in that can actually be tall and, be present on the glass, be present as an offensive threat. Even if it's 5 to 6 points, I don't care what it is. I don't know necessarily if Mitch provides that. I think a guy like Nick Richardson, being young, is going to want to look to score, even if Tom is waving him off not to score. I do believe that the Mitch train is kind of pulled into the LIR, and somebody wants to unhook the cab, and, he's off peak a little bit. Oh, I hate saying that about him. He's a nice dude, too.
He is.
But his ass got to go. Because he's not here. We can't count on him. It's a
that's
we're worried about
availability, yes, but I think the lack of scoring from him. This is probably the best possible team ever to hide Mitch on, and his inability to score.
Yeah, no,
he only scored on putbacks and offensive rebounds, putbacks, things like that. That's where he gets his points. It's an interesting move. I mean, Richards is another Kentucky guy, which I thought was kind of funny when I saw when I remembered, actually, because I was like, wait, didn't he play? And then I looked at him like, yes, he did. So
the yard boy,
yeah,
too. The yard,
right? Yeah, he is. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. But this news about him not being healthy again till the end of January, I mean,
what did I say? I didn't mean to cut you off, but what did I say at the beginning? I said when Santa Claus comes around, there's a couple things you can count on: Santa Claus and Mitch not being in the damn lineup. Are we not at Christmas? Are we not singing Jingle Bells? This is what I want to ask you.
But no, I mean, it's a fair point. Yeah, it's a fair point, and it's something that they're gonna have to address one way or another, because but I just don't like. Would Charlotte even do that? Like, I don't even know if they would. Like, would they even consider something like that?
It would take more than Mitch.
Right, that's what I mean, because of the reasons we're saying.
They would never make that trade straight up.
So it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting trade idea. It's an interesting player. Again, we had talked about him over the summer as well. Richards was a guy a lot of people had talked about them possibly acquiring.
There's a lot of interest in him in the league too, from what I'm hearing. We're not the only people that are interested in him.
Oh yeah, no, we're not. I mean, he's 27 years old. He's a similar player to Mitch in a lot of respects. I don't know. When I watch him play, to me, he doesn't always look engaged. But then I look at his numbers and I'm like, well, he puts up the numbers. So I don't know.
Isn't he like 10 and 2 blocks or something like that?
Yeah, he's 11 and I think he's an 11 and 11 or 11 and 10 guy, and so he does have the statistics back it up. I just don't watch him enough. I guess that's the thing. Like, if I watched him more, I could say, okay, that's legit, or
But think
Does
about
he have games?
Mitch doesn't average a double-double. I don't think people realize that. He does not, for his career, average a double.
He doesn't.
No,
He
A
doesn't
lot of
play
that has
30.
to do with minutes. A lot of
Yeah,
that has
he
to do
doesn't
with
play.
minutes.
He doesn't play over 30. He plays like 28 minutes a game.
But my
He
thing
doesn't
is,
play.
my thing has always been about when you have a specialist. And I hate that. I hate that term in basketball.
Mitch is a longer player too.
It's like, why is Mitch not being a DPOY every year? Because this is all he's doing. He's defending and rebounding.
It's the coach's rotation.
But it's annoying. I mean, I get it. You're right, Eric. You're 100% right. But that's my thing. Why need this novelty if you're not maxing him out to what the potential is, which is he should be a double-double. He should. What Karl Anthony Towns is getting 13 rebounds, which nobody probably saw that coming because I didn't have him on my bingo card that he's going to get 13 rebounds. But yet we can't get Mitch to get a double-double every game. Your whole job is a rebound.
It's his motor. He gets tired, dude.
Uh-huh.
Even playing through the season, you see him huffing and puffing, with his hands on his knees when people are shooting free throws, and it's his motor.
Yep,
it's fouls too.
Too much Louisiana cooking, man.
Natural.
I do think it's fouls too, though. I think he has a propensity to get into foul trouble from time to time, so that kind of takes him out of the game. So yeah, it's
thing, though. That's a real thing. What Joe said, he does.
Oh no, it's totally is. Part of it is because he's hurt all the time and he can't get his conditioning up because he can't. You can't run on your foot. So it's a lot of things intertwined about the same reason we're talking about the injuries. It all kind of goes back to that. But it's gonna be interesting to see how they progress with him. Whatever happens. Because now I forgot it said Sham said at least late January, which means it could be later.
That's the report. At least?
Yes, at least.
Oh,
yes.
Damn, language. You know what that is in Nick language. He's
well, that's the other thing. That's the other that's the other side of this, which is where I wanted to go. So Ty, you led me there as well, which is where I wanted to go. Why is it every time a Knick gets hurt, the timetable is always wrong by like a month, at least a month. It doesn't matter. I remember when Melo hurt his knee and they're like, oh, it's just a sprain. He'll be back. Dude didn't come back till they said 4 weeks. He didn't come back till 2 months. And then he comes back. And I'm like, it's always, you can't keep telling me the Knicks have all this money and they have all this access. We're in New York, okay? Access to some great orthopedic doctors. And every single time one of their players gets hurt, the timetable they give us now, the other thought process behind it is, well, that's Dolan. He doesn't want to give anyone give away that much. So he just says, tell them this, but lie to them. Don't really tell them the truth, how long it's going to be. Now, you guys know I have no love for the owner, but even that's crazy for me. That's a little bit too far out there saying he's doing this. He's telling them lie about the injuries. Because all that's going to do is piss the fan base off. So I don't understand what benefit that would have. Mm-hmm. But what is it? Seriously, it's got to be something. I don't see this happening in other sports, in other teams around the league. What's the deal? Joe, you're in the industry. You're closer than us. Tell us, what is this? What's going on?
Relationship with the media. They should hire John Lovitz. Do you remember the John Lovitz skits on SNL where he just lied to people? Be like, yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be next month. Yeah. They need John Lovitz to deliver that through the whole skit. It's just not giving them anything. I don't think that you have healthcare that is that incompetent at that level. I mean, I'll tell you, particularly with orthopedic surgeons, the orthopedic surgeons, perhaps more than any other specialty, are drawn to the epicenters in the country: Chicago, New York, San Francisco, Dallas. The great orthopedists are in big, big cities like Boston and stuff like that. You have the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York City. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's the medical care. I just don't think we're talking about an organization that prioritizes a transparent, transfer of information with the media. I think they're I'm not going to show it because we're on a family show right now, but there are two fingers a finger on each one of my hands, and I'm holding it up right now because kind of how they are with the media. They have John Lovitz going, yeah, he's doing real good. Yeah, he's on the bike. We're going to put him questionable next month. Yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, man.
that's what's going on, man.
When they had Mitch doing the pose like he was shooting, now he's holding the ball. I'm like,
sending them YouTube videos from last offseason.
They did the cardboard cutout of Mitch. Like, hold on, let's get this
because don't forget that was a problem with KP too. Remember when Phil's remember when Phil said that KP wasn't ready or whatever, that he put up a picture of him running on the track or something with some kind of craziness. So this has always been a thing with them. And man, I don't know. It's a joke though, Ty. You always say like, how long they say it's gonna be out? Add a month to it.
That's not coming back. He's not. Oh, Mitch made. That's the thing. Like, I just would love for them to say what the real injury is, because we're at a point now where we know it's not an ankle. Not with all that's going on. What do you need, the Oscar Goldman to come in and wheel in some bionics? I mean, what the hell's this is damaged goods. I mean, I can understand it from this point. You can't trade a damaged good. No. So maybe they're trying to cover how bad it is in case they want to make him marketable. I understand that. But after a while, someone's going to want to kick the tires on the car to see why it's driving funny. Why is Mitch sitting there this long with the history of what we know is he's had an injury history? He's never played, but I think he played 70 games maybe once. I don't think maybe even that. I might be off with that. He might have had 70 at one point. He never played a full season. I know Spectrum played.
The most he played was 72 games. Yes.
72. So he's had one of them throughout his 5 or 6 years in the league, but the most of the time it's been injury after injury, and he's out for a huge pocket of time. Now we're looking at somebody who was injured last year, who spent the summer, which we were thinking, by the summertime, at least by training camp, he should be better. And they're like, no, that's not on our docket. We're going to give him till next season, the 2025 year, and now we're hearing he may be ready. You have to trade him, or you have to pivot maybe and move Sims.
You're not getting
someone to do his job.
Yeah, it's a repeat injury from an injury that had surgery, that got re-injured and had surgery again on the same injury. Now, the worst case scenario with that is they have instrumentation on there from the first surgery, so they get screws and stuff like that put in there. It gets injured and breaks again, and then you have additional injuries where all those screws and plates were in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't know how bad that was. They'll never tell us, but I mean, an injury, surgery, re-injure, re-surgery on the same injury, no one's touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, he's going to have to prove he can play, and then, before anyone even considers it.
Like that L12 that Chinese place, that rice is cooked. That dude is cooked. He's done.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. But, right now he's a Knick, so we have to worry about it. Like something we have to worry about going forward. So something else we might have to worry about if the Knicks do win tonight, and just really quickly, again, the game starts at 7:00 tonight. The Knicks play the Atlanta Hawks at Madison Square Garden in game one, the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup. Jalen Johnson is playing. There was thought he might not be playing. He is playing, so that definitely makes the job more difficult.
Yeah, it does.
But if the Knicks were to win tonight and move on, they will be playing the resurgent Milwaukee Bucks, who all of us kind of had marked for death.
I thought that
with everything. Yeah, with everything that was going on, and they have come back. They won their matchup against the Orlando Magic last night in their quarterfinal matchup, so the Knicks will be playing Milwaukee if they indeed do win tonight. We kind of touched on this last week, but I don't understand what changed with them. But yeah, man, they're playing fantastic basketball all of a sudden. And it's not just Giannis. Dame is playing great. So it's going to be a tough matchup when we face them, because I'm saying we're going to win tonight. So when we face them, I'm going to be positive, even though I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm just being positive.
Um,
So, what looking ahead to that matchup, if indeed, like I said when, but if indeed they do play him, looking ahead, what do you see different now with this team, with Milwaukee?
for me, it's Giannis. I mean, that dude just said, "Give me the damn trophy. I'm an MVP." I mean, when I look at what he's done, we see the motor. We see what made him special. Do I all the way buy him in a playoff situation? I'm still thinking you foul the hell out of him and make him shoot. He has yet to ever prove that to me. I don't care what he's hitting now. I know people say, "Oh, he's hitting his mid-range." Well, he's like 15 years in the league. We would hope he would. Do I trust that in a series? No, I think they're still beatable in a series. But we're talking about playing one game. They represent some of the things that we have issues with. They can put a big front line. The Knicks are an undersized team. What we saw from Orlando last night, which put up a hell of a game, they're coming. I just want to let the rest of the league know in the East, us Knicks fans, that Orlando's coming, and you need to be very conscious that they're down 2 people. And I said last night to you guys in the thread that they are the Knicks of this year, of the Knicks man up Knicks. That's what the Orlando Magic are. They're very tenacious. They're very well coached. They play great defense. And that's what gave Milwaukee a little bit of a problem until, game time actually happened, which is really, for me, when you think about the Milwaukee Bucks, the concern, we always know what Giannis is going to do, but it's really, what is Dame going to do? Dame Lillard has to be that special talent. He doesn't defend. I play better defense than Dame. It's just what it is. At this point in our lives, I'm the better defender. He just don't play any damn defense. So the key point is whether or not you can attack him on that end and make him, have to play that and get into foul trouble. The one thing for the Knicks that always bothered me is we never seek out a player. Like, we go back to the Detroit game that we lost. Kate Cunningham is sitting there with 4 fouls. Think the Knicks would ever attack him? I think they would post him. I think they'd try to get at him. I think they'd be aggressive with that kind of player. They go, nah. We'll dance on the perimeter. We'll pass it to everybody but Cade's man. We won't cause him to switch out. We won't make him guard anybody. So the key thing to me is that Giannis is probably going to get 25 to 30 points. He's going to get probably 10 to 15 rebounds. Karl Anthony Towns gets that. So we can neutralize that aspect of it. It's always the secondary line with the Knicks, and what are those players going to do? I do think we're going to put the second best player on the floor at that point. We say Giannis and Cat is a wash, so it comes down to who is Jalen Brunson. Is Jalen Brunson better than Dame? I think he is. So if you can win that, I think you're fine. But however, what the Knicks tend to do is they play down to the tenacity on the boards. And when teams have been aggressive, the Knicks are folded like a bad rocking chair. That's really what has happened with them. These young teams that get at them is what has been our kryptonite. So I think it's very winnable. If you can shoot the outside, Milwaukee's not going to manufacture a ton of points. However, what the Knicks tend to do is they fall into these lulls of, an identity crisis on what team you're getting. We get the team that plays, the other, they have these offensive blowouts. If we get that team coming in, I think Milwaukee's not going to be able to guard them. The defense is still not there for Milwaukee like that. However, if we get into a fight, I'm picking Giannis in a fight because that's what his game is. His game is rough, rugged, and nasty. That fits him. You got Bobby Porter's crazy eyes right on the bench. These dudes are coming in for a fight. So
when he knocked that Euro out,
what is his name? The young dude on Milwaukee.
Miricic, I think, was the guy he knocked out in practice. I mean, knocked him out cold.
Yeah, see, that's a rough rider. The Knicks, it's weird. Little Dante DiVincenzo might have gave the Knicks a nasty edge when you think about it, because we can't say it's Julius. Julius was out, so he was out most of the season. But the Knicks were a tough team last season.
Mm-hmm.
They were tough. They were undersized and tough. And I don't know if anybody know about undersized people. They're usually the ones wanting to fight everybody. So it's never the big people. Big people don't want to even start fights. They want to go and sit in the corner and be nice and be a good teddy bear. It's them little people. Little people that always want to start the bar fights and pick on 20 people. That's sort of what Dante brought, to the table. He had that kind of cockiness, wanting to fight. The Knicks, which is very strange with all the guys that got our defensive stoppers and all this, they're a little more finesse than they are physical. And I think, it's like, well, they're not. Precious might be the next tough dude right now. When you think about it, he comes in with an edge. Huck Porter, we know Huck is. I told you that's Rikers Island. He's playing a rough game of basketball, but we won't see him. He's not playing anymore. So, he retired. Who
knows?
5 to 6 games ago. Now, if he was playing, if I knew Tom was playing him, I said Milwaukee we can battle with Milwaukee. But as is, I think it's going to be quite a challenge if the Knicks don't come out firing at all cylinders to beat Milwaukee.
Milwaukee's a different team right now. This is a team. Whatever happened early with them happened in that locker room. There was a locker room problem.
Yeah.
They came out at the beginning of the season, lost 8 out of 9. And then suddenly flipped a switch, and right after that, won 8 out of 9. I don't think that's Doc Rivers pixie dust. I don't think he's got those kind of soft skills to kind of manage that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think you were right, Ty. I think it was, a Giannis thing. Something he was not happy about, whether it was the team dynamic, how they were floating. And you got to forget, also, this team's hitting on it right now, and they get Chris Middleton back. And again, that's a different team if he can stay healthy, because he is an impact player. Mm-hmm. So, I like our roster better than Milwaukee, particularly without Middleton. I think the Knicks can take them in the next game. I think we're just a better team, personally.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, too. Mm-hmm. Is this a jet lag? Knicks? Which one's going to show? Who's going to show up?
Yeah, I think the matchup is bad. I just think the matchup is bad. Like, for the reasons Ty stated, that the Knicks are a small team. They have problems with teams that have length. And Towns is the only rebounder they have. I'm being honest. He really is. And a lot of it's because the coach refuses to play any kind of other, pairing. He won't. Why not try Towns with, Huck Porty, or try Towns with? I don't care. He's not even playing Precious with him. They played, I think, a few minutes the other night, and then he took Precious out and brought Josh Hart back in. And I understand, he has trust in those guys, and I get that part. And Josh Hart is a fantastic rebounder for a guard, but he's also only 6'4". There's a lot.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I don't know that we have to match up with them. I think we could do what we do, and they can't match up with us. I could understand going a different way than that.
The Knicks have to shoot well. If they shoot well, yes, they can win. That's really what it comes down to, in my opinion. If they shoot well, they can win. But if it's a game where they're missing shots, missing perimeter shots, it becomes a rebounding game, or a game where there's a lot of missed shots, and obviously that's where you get the rebounds. I don't see it. I don't see them winning that matchup. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it if they get there.
If we're on, they can't stick with us, and I don't mean like once every 30 games on where you're just hitting everything that you're throwing everything in the ocean. I think if we're playing effectively our game right now, I don't know that they could stay with us. That's why I don't know that, unless we're not, and we need to pivot, which pivoting has never been a Thibodeau strength. Let's just throw that out there. I think we can all agree on that.
Yes, sir.
But
well, that's for sure. Yes.
I don't know that we necessarily have to accommodate and try to beat them at their game. I don't know that that's this team. Last year, yes. This year, maybe not.
Yeah. It's gonna. I don't know.
I think the thing is too. I think the availability is there if we are getting beat on the boards, to have players that can come in and help and assist with that if the small lineup doesn't work. But what ends up happening is that is not even in the plans. You know, I think that's the thing, and I guess I don't want to speak for Eric, but I guess that's the thing. It's like when it comes down to maybe having to make those changes because you're getting overwhelmed on the board, he's not gonna change it. He's not going to change it. I've yet to see him go, oh, let me see what the other team is beating us at doing, and let me put in a counter to that. He doesn't counter. That's the one thing. He's a terrible counterpuncher. If anything, he comes in as this is the game plan. No matter how much you get hit, I don't care if you're laying out and you're knocked out on the ground, and your mouthpiece is going and you're slobbering. Tom's like, I'm not throwing in the towel for nothing. I'm just going to get walloped, and it's like, man, put Huckporty in or put Kolick in, or you know, the strength of the Knicks bench is also going to be a question mark. You know what? Who's coming?
That's yeah. I mean, that's down. That's all year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a more of an all year thing because of what you're saying. Like we have guys on the bench, he just doesn't play them. So you know you have to start. If you're like I said before, if you're bragging that you gave Tyler Kolick the largest contract for a second rounder ever, if you're telling us that we want to hide Huckporty because he's good and we don't want everyone to know that, and like there's things like that going on that we hear from reporters coming out, and you're like, but if they can help you win, I don't give a crap. It's about winning. So that's a larger topic, and I think it's a topic we're going to be talking about all season.
Absolutely.
Is the use of the bench and the lack of his ability to adjust and play the players that deserve the minutes, regardless of how long they've been in the NBA. That's really what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. So speaking of that, we're talking about rosters and how the Knicks have built a competitive roster. There was a poll of NBA executives, and they said that the Knicks front office is the 6th best in the league.
I'll take
it.
I'll take it.
Behind Oklahoma City, Boston, Miami, Memphis, and Minnesota. Now, I don't know all the parameters that they were talking about. I don't know if they were given like a list of things and check off like what parts of being a front office they're good at. I had no problem really with the first 3. I include coaching in front office because they hire the coach. So Eric Spoelstra, Miami, yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, draft well too.
Yep, they do draft well. So, but Memphis, I was kind of like,
Their coaches.
They found a lot of players later in the draft, like Desmond Bain.
Their coach is very good, though. He's a good coach.
Their coach is excellent,
Mm-hmm.
And then Minnesota, specifically coming off of the our trade with them, the Knicks and Timberwolves trade, and I'm like, really? Like how? And I don't care. 6th is fine. It's better than what we used to be. So I will gladly take 6th and run with that. But Minnesota was kind of the one where I was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about that one. Since we have like evidence right in front of our face that one big move they made they did not win that one. So what did you guys think though? Just you guys give a quick overview of what you thought about the teams in front of us and then the Knicks being 6th.
I think they're weighting heavily people that are finding players after the lottery that are impactful players, because the only way that you can justify Minnesota is Jalen McDaniels and Naz Reid. Anthony Edwards, first pick in the draft, it's because you sucked. Towns, first pick in the draft, it's because you sucked. Rudy Gobert, you started the whole 8 million picks for an impact player thing, so I'm sure they're not getting points for that. Mm-hmm. So it's about the only thing that I can think of. They have managed their cap really well. Although I didn't realize it at the time, they definitely got fleeced in that trade. Mm-hmm. So that works against them. So I'm not feeling that too much. Memphis, again, they seem to find players that don't have a lot of renown, that aren't heavily touted, that they draft somewhere in the mid to late first round that come in and become impact players. Like Zach Edey's going to wind up probably, if he could play enough and if he could stay healthy, he will probably be our rookie of the year. Mm-hmm. They seem to also manage their cap pretty well. Boston, yeah, fine. You built a juggernaut. I get that. OKC, that's the dude there, man. And we're talking about the dude. When we're talking about the dude, that is the dude.
That's the dude.
That's the dude.
That is the dude.
That dude knows kung fu, front office kung fu.
That's a
He
good
does.
Well, I mean, Brock
He's like
Aller's
a
from there
Shaolin,
and San
Wu-Tang
Antonio, right? So
kind
yeah,
of kung fu going on, man.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He's got front office kung fu. That's a very good one. I like that one.
Yeah.
Well, we had this little bit debate, Eric and I, earlier when we heard about the list. For all those that don't know, we argue offline way more than we argue online. It's friendly. It's friendly debate. But
yeah, friendly.
I'm a diatribe writer. You know, it's the writer in me. You'll get some paragraphs in the private chats from me detailing why I'm right. It's just the passion we all have. But however, what we were doing, we were talking about the obviously the ranking, and I felt like the Knicks should have been higher, and I did put them ahead of Boston. But my reasoning for putting them ahead of Boston was more so not just being a homer, but I felt like the context of the front offices was not displayed enough in this. Much like Joe said, you know, they built the juggernaut. You see how Joe rolled his eyes? He was like, "Oh yeah, they built it." It's about time. They've had Tatum and Brown for a very long time, and then they finally added in those players towards the last two seasons under Brad Stevens. But before that, that was Danny Ainge. He held on to those picks for so long, and they really didn't manifest into much. Brad Stevens became sort of like the Steve Kerr to Ainge. You know, he came in and said, okay, let's move around some of these guys and get a Chris Stapps. Let's get in a Drew Holiday. Let's get in the white dude was the biggest move. What's his name? White. White was
Derek White.
Derek White was their biggest move. Like, that's the move that was their greatest move as a Celtics. Because we know what Drew bought. We know KP bought. Derek White was the guy that people was like, oh, who the hell's Derek White? They didn't watch him in San Antonio. That dude can ball. And he's been a big difference maker for the Celtics. But I'm not poo-pooing what they've done. It's just more so they had Brown and Tatum in tow for a long time.
That's true. I didn't even think of that.
To the point they got super maxes. That's what I was telling Eric. I said, they got super maxes. That's how long they've been Celtics. And they finally won last year. Those other years, I mean, prior to that, on the Ainge's realm, they did a great job of stockpiling, but it never translated into them being this juggernaut you see now. So shout out to Brad Stevens. My argument for the Knicks is the fact that we suck for a lot of decades. We've been a terrible franchise for decades. We're not talking 5 years. We're talking damn near 30 damn years. I know we want to age ourselves. It's been a hell of a drought in New York. We're talking about 30 years. We talk about Patrick Ewing. When people go and talk about the Knicks, like, what's your greatest memory of the Knicks? They go 1990. Like, they're singing the Chubb Rock song, 1990. Chubb Rock jumped on the scene. They're going all the way back to 1990 when you think about how great the Knicks were. And then there was this huge drought that has been epic. There's been the most epic flood of dirt and filth that fell through Madison Square Garden. We've been horrendously terrible. And here within 4 years, which I'm not even going to say 4 years. When you look at it, we had the first year with Tom Thibodeau and Julius. They went to the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. Then they had that second year of regression because they brought back that team that was horrible, that they probably should never be brought back. It failed. So within a 3-year window, and really for the Knicks, when I think about it, we brought in Brunson. He did a 2-year bid. He did a 2-year prison sentence with us. But in between that prison sentence, over the last 18 months, the Knicks have brought in OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Karl Anthony Towns. Who in the hell thought the Knicks were going to pull that off? Who? I'm like the owl. I'm like Woodsy the owl. Who the hell was going to bring in that? Who thought that was going to happen? When you think about that, this front office accomplished in 18 months what we haven't been able to accomplish in 3 friggin' decades. 18 months.
Strong point, man.
And it's like, these dudes is working magic, or they are blackmailing some teams, because that's the only thing that explains but it's also the magic of knowing your talent you're bringing in. Bring in a Josh Hart. Bring in these guys. Even when you look at the Derrick Rose trade, that was they have made only really one terrible trade, in my opinion, which was the Cam Reddish one,
Yeah.
because they didn't consult Tom. Tom didn't want him here. He didn't even want to be here. I just think it was just, let's get a wing and see if it works. But every move post Cam Reddish, or Scam Reddish as I call him now, Scam Reddish, post Scam Reddish, even though we all were like, maybe we gave a little bit too much for Josh Hart, they've nailed every trade.
Yeah.
There's not been a trade. I mean, there's still the judgment out on Macau. But when you think about the success of the team,
Two number twos for Obi wasn't great either.
well, the Obi. Yeah, good. I forgot about it. That was horrendous.
Oh, that was
for Obi. Yeah, that was horrible. You're right, Joe. So there's two bad ones. They just gave him away. That made no sense. But when you think about the post Obi, we'll go post Obi-Wan. The trade for OG, I would have never thought that was good. I was like, why would you do that? You're losing so much scoring and impact quickly, and RJ coming out. Comes in, the guy, they don't lose a game with him. They don't really lose a game with him. When he was healthy, they went on this epic run in the first month that he was here, first 2 months, and we're like, well, damn, the Knicks are the best team in the league. They lose.
To your point, though, I think the way I think they're probably looking at it is the ones that were before them, most of them have been stable for years, right?
Yeah,
so they're saying these are the established front offices who have been good for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Maybe if it was like who's been the best front office in the last year, the Knicks might be,
I think the Knicks can win Executive of the Year this year. I mean, Rose can win Executive of the Year this year.
He should. I mean, outside of Presti, because don't get me wrong, OKC, I watched that game last night, and you guys know I was in there. I was like, these damn dudes. I don't know. One guy on OKC, well, two actually, like legitimate dudes, which is iHeart and SGA. So you know what those two guys, and Elmer Fudd, I'm a big fan of Elmer Fudd. But I'm just saying, what they did to Dallas last night, they should be arrested for what they did to Dallas last night. When I tell you get beat up in the alley, they beat him up in the alley, took Luka's jewelry. I mean, they did everything. Stole his car outside of it. They put together a masterful team. He's out there. He's playing what they say chess. He's a grandmaster. He's playing a grandmaster chess. He's not just playing chess, average chess. Preston knows what the hell he's doing.
And they don't have Chet, and they still have all those picks.
Watch them. They're the number one seed, I think, in the West right now.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So you gotta. I mean, like I said, love the Knicks. Don't get me wrong. What they've done. OKC is the head honcho, and they got all those damn picks.
They got enough to get anybody. They have enough to trade for anybody.
They don't need nothing in the league when you think about it. And then they got the home crowd, which to me is Madison Square Garden West. Because when you listen to that crowd, that's an intense environment to go play in. I'm just looking at what Sam Presti done. It's just been utter brilliance. I follow that by saying the Knicks have been brilliant in their own right too. But if, like Eric said, we're talking about long term, those franchises are way better than us over the long term. But I think for the Knicks having the little short window we've had to be where we are is about the most impressive thing I've ever seen for this franchise, period.
Yeah, man, the Thunder, they are the model. They are the model to me. Like that, Sam Presti knows exactly what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He understands the market he's in. He understands all of that. And he knows that guys probably aren't going to choose to come to Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. So I need to have draft picks and the ability to trade and bring guys here. Mm-hmm. And then once I bring them in, convince them that this is the place they want to be. And Hartenstein chose to go there. Mm-hmm. Probably because of the talent. That would be my guess. Like he was going to a team, like you said, that has Chet, Jalen Williams, SGA. Like they have a really nice young nucleus, so he could go in there, be the missing piece. But I don't ever see any big name. Like I don't see a big name player saying, yeah, you know what, I'll go to Oklahoma City. Even with SGA there and how talented they are, I don't see that happening. So they are the model. And yeah, I've said for years, like that's the copy. The team I want to copy is them. That's who I want to copy. I don't know. People say you can't do that in New York. I like what we've obviously done now, so I have no problems. We built a nice, good team. They lucked out a little bit with Brunson being as great as he is. I don't think anyone saw this level of greatness for him.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was a stroke of luck, but it's about damn time.
Yeah.
The Knicks deserve the little luck, so it's about damn time. And then being in the position to get Towns and to do that as the second part of the building, the key part of the building of the team. And then like we talked about, building the roster around what we believe the coach wants. It doesn't always look that way this year. Every time I look and I see the Knicks are like the top offensive team, I'm like, what is going on? What's going on here? This doesn't make sense. But like I also said to you guys in the chat, I much prefer watching this type of basketball than watching the ugly stuff. So
absolutely. It's a beautiful game.
So this has been awesome.
I wouldn't mind watching the other game if they got rid of the hand checking rule.
Well, that's never happening.
That
will never happen.
I was very impressed listening to they were talking to Hartenstein, I guess off camera before the game or at one point. And he brings up the fact that he said about the defense on Oklahoma City. He says that you can't miss an assignment. He's like, you feel bad when you miss your assignment defending because all the guys are on a string and all the starters, they believe in playing defense. So when I look at that kind of system that they have, I'm like, isn't that what Tom Thibodeau is supposed to have in New York? And I don't want to hear people say Towns is a terrible defender. I think Towns has been given the greatest effort I've seen him do on both ends. I think his whole entire career, what we're seeing from him. It's just, I think the philosophy is a little outdated with as we know, collapsing and protecting the rim when nobody's driving to the rim anymore. It's like, wait,
true.
Wait, hold on. It's like, I'm shocked people figure that out. That's what, I mean, I don't think that we're obviously we're not paid by the NBA. We're not.
Ty, it's funny.
On his level.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. No.
It's funny you brought that up because we've been talking about having these two great wing defenders, right? And Bridges and Anunoby. But if your system is to pack the paint, you're taking them away from there anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was just something that I forgot to mention this. I was thinking about it the last time after we talked about this.
Yes.
I was thinking about it, and I just never got to bring it up, but you just put it back in my mind. I'm like, yeah, like the philosophy that we have, the philosophy of it kind of diminishes what they do so great. So, yeah.
And that's why they've been diminished. When you look at a guy like we're asking why Bridges? Bridges was he was a defensive, let's get this right.
Yeah, all defensive team.
Defensive player of the year candidate while in Phoenix. We know OG has always been a defensive player of the year candidate no matter what team he's on and what year, because that's what his specialty is. It's never been, go out and give me 40, OG. 40 push-ups? Somebody look at him and get 40 points. This is not his damn game. But you're looking and saying, well, why is that not relevant right now? We should be seeing them pressing guys damn near court, three-quarter court, getting out on the perimeter, picking up Jalen's dudes. Like, no, dude, I'm taking you all the way full court. You're not going to come in and set up in the half court. La, la, la. You're skipping around like Ezel and Friday. No, just brings
so I'm confused here. Are you guys saying that it's a bad thing for a wing defender to have to cover 5-6 feet to defend a jump shot? Is that what you're that's a bad thing?
That's a bad thing, yes.
All right, I just want to make sure.
Yes, that is not a good thing.
It's the most. There was a play in Detroit. Well, it wasn't a play; it was multiple plays, where Josh Hart was in the paint, and he must have given up 4 or 5 corner threes. It was in the same spot. No offense to Josh. I know Josh gives a damn about the game.
It's how they're coached.
It's just like you wouldn't think that he'd say, "Well, the bigs is supposed to protect the paint," because that's what the last thing I knew was a rim protector was the bigs protecting the rim. That's all I've ever known it to be, or protecting the paint. It's supposed to be a big man's game when you go down there. That's where the trees live. The trees live in the paint. The perimeter guys, why are you leaving perimeter guys in a 3-point shooting league to hedge the paint where no one – what happens on the 3-man break nowadays. They go to the corners. There's nobody even doing a damn layup anymore. The fundamentals of basketball is all screwed up. And this coach, who's probably a fundamental old school coach, as we know, thinks that people are still doing layups. And he's like, no, we do layups around here still. And it's like, dude, the game should not have passed you by that much, because you always say that the game is never in place. It's never secure because of the three-point shot. So you recognize that that's an issue in the league and that everyone shoots them, yet you're still collapsing in the paint with guys who are not trying to score in the paint.
See, he'll try to appear less old school by breaking out stats.
Yeah.
And as everybody here knows, especially Eric in your line of work, my line of work, you can use stats to justify anything that you have going on in your head if you have enough of them and have an understanding.
Oh, sure.
And I think that's what happens with him. I think that he tries to give this kind of the stats say exactly what he wants them to say, and that connection is so clear. You'll never see him change his methodology because of stats, because that's not what he uses stats for.
Mm-hmm.
He uses stats to justify what he wants to do anyway.
Facts. Absolutely. Well, Jericho's the best rim protector in the league. Stat-wise, he's correct. But anybody with two damn eyes, and that includes Stevie Wonder, knew the hell that Jericho don't look like he's even supposed to be on the floor.
I know what my eyes tell me when he's on the floor and what the team looks like.
Is that before or after you gouge your eyes out watching him trying to look like a basketball player? And there's no offense. The kid is a nice kid, but it's like, damn, dude, you try to dribble to the rim and you got scared. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget last year when Thibodeau would be like, "Oh, we're good. Our 3-point field goal percentage defense is high," and I'm like, "Yeah, but your teams are taking like 8 more against you a game than the next best team. So like, who cares? Like, who cares what your percentage is at that point? If they're taking the bulk of their shots there, that's still an extra point each time they hit one."
You always do that. You always know. I love that you nail that, Eric, for so
long. And volume of any sample is going to bring compliance down.
Yeah.
You're shooting 15 threes, it's going to go, the compliance rate's going to go down for if you're shooting 7. That's just, but anytime I work with teams and try to instill statistics with them, I'm like, okay, you have this outcome metric. What else do you need to be thinking about? What else affects this? Mm-hmm. What else do you need to consider when you're looking at that number? And again, for somebody that wants them just to justify whatever they wanted to say, I mean, people don't do that.
Yeah, facts.
Right. So really quickly, there was a rumor that I read that, and I don't know, it wasn't Sports Illustrated, so I'm like, all right, it's at least a reputable place I saw it, is that the Knicks possibly are looking to trade McBride for Kobe White from Chicago. Don't know where that came from, but I saw it and I just wanted to bring it up, put it out there, let everybody know, hey, that was a rumor. I don't believe it's true.
That can't be real.
All right.
Well, Kobe White has to be re-signed soon. He's coming up to the end of his rookie contract. Yeah. They're not going to be able to sign Kobe White.
Of course. I knew this. If he was watching, I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming because Craig just wants to make trades.
He's a streetwalker for trades. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep. All right, let's get out of here because the game is about to start. So we can get to run and go run to the television and watch the Knicks play the Atlanta Hawks on their way to a possible championship.
Mm-hmm. Let's go.
That is a for real statement.
I know.
Let's freaking go.
And it's one and done. It's not like we have to win a series. It's just one. You win, you move to the next round. It's the NCAA tournament in a much more condensed way, but it is the NCAA tournament. So everyone out there, have fun watching the game. Let's hope all our Knicks fans out there, let's hope we get a win and we can play Milwaukee in the semifinals. If anyone is going to go to Vegas to watch it, more power to you. I wish I could be there, but I'm traveling enough this year and I can't fit it into my schedule. So sorry.
Las Vegas.
Right? Viva Las Vegas. There we go. All right. So you guys want to pub anything? Promo anything? No, we're good.
We out of here. That's all it is.
All right. So for Ty and Joe, I'm Eric. You're watching All Nicked Up, and we'll see you next week.